Hi Dark Realmers, it's Michael J Elliott here, author and illustrator, and you're watching the Dark Realm Diaries. Yep. So, how much do you actually owe them? $10,000? No, no. That is not a little indulgence. How could you possibly get involved with a Mexico cartel? Oh, no, I don't have $10,000. I might be able to scrape up a couple of hundred, but no way, not 10,000. Yes, look, no, I don't think they're going to kneecap you. No. No, they won't shoot the budgie. No, look, you're panicking. Look, okay, I'll see what I can do. Oh, look, I've got to go. I've really got to go. But look, I'll try and do what I can for you, okay? Yeah, it's going to be fine. They won't kidnap the dog. It's okay. It's okay. All right. Bye, Grandma. Oh, hi, Dark Realmers. Sorry about that. Family issues. Hey, today I've got for you our very first trivia feature. And what we're going to be looking at is the book and the movie Frankenstein. And I'm going to be telling you a few really interesting facts about both the book and the movie, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So let's get started. Well, I suppose most of you are pretty familiar with this version of Frankenstein. Did you know that there was actually another version of Frankenstein, and that was made by the Edison Studios back in 1910? That's right. It was a silent movie, and it's still in existence today. The print is still available. But it's this man, Boris Karloff, who we most associate with as Frankenstein. His performance was unequalled. It was terrifying, and it earned him a lot of acclaim. And the makeup that was created for Karloff has become synonymous with Frankenstein, and we see it so much today in pop culture, in cartoons, virtually everywhere. Think of Halloween and you'll straight away think of Frankenstein. Now, in the movie, Frankenstein's monster was brought to life by electricity through a storm. But in Mary Shelley's book, she said that Frankenstein had actually discovered some sort of force that could reanimate corpses. And it was a little bit ambivalent. She didn't really go into much detail about it. And of course, it would have been a lot more difficult to film something like that and wouldn't have had as much impact, of course. And we have to remember too that back in 1933 that electricity wasn't really that old. It was still something that was to be marvelled at, to make life easier. So yes, the fact that electricity played a big part and of course made a huge spectacular scene when the monster was brought to life is another reason they chose that. Now, another interesting fact is that the book was subtitled The Modern Prometheus. Now, in Greek mythology, Prometheus was a titan who actually gave fire to human beings. That was strictly against what Zeus, the king of the gods, had decreed. And so he was punished for that. And what Mary Shelley was trying to say with that subtitle was that Frankenstein was trying to give humanity something that they shouldn't have had. And that's really interesting, an interesting point. He tried to conquer death, and we're not meant to do that. The movie was directed by James Whale, who was a British director, and he directed Karloff in some of his best scenes, and he was a well-known homosexual, and it was very, very brave to be gay in those days, especially if you were out like James Whale was. Now, some interesting details about James Whale was that he went on to direct some other classics such as Bride of Frankenstein and The Invisible Man. But he made a movie, and the studio executives felt that at the time it may offend Nazi Germany. So they made some changes and altered it, and effectively that ended his movie directing career. And he spent a lot of his time after that just directing theatre. And an interesting thing about that was that in 1988 they actually made a movie about his later years starring the wonderful Sir Ian McKellen and Brendan Fraser, and that movie was called Gods and Monsters. And if you love old Hollywood and old Hollywood royalty, it's particularly brilliant because it highlights some cameo performances by people playing famous actresses like Elsa Lanchester and so forth. So I recommend you check that movie out, because it'll give you a great background about how he made his movies and how he was treated by Hollywood. And here's an interesting trivia note about James Whale. He was found drowned in his pool. Now, the spooky thing about that was, on his bedside table was a book that he was reading at the time, and the title of that book was Don't Go Near the Water. Now, one of the things that always perplexed me about Victor Frankenstein was, if he wanted to create a man, why didn't he just grab a body, a whole body, and reanimate it? Well, the answer to that comes from grave robbing. Yep, grave robbing. Now, in the United Kingdom, prior to 1832, it was decreed that only felons who had been sentenced by a court and had been executed could be used in medical schools for anatomy lessons and dissection. Now, the problem with that was that there were too many medical schools and not enough people being condemned to death as the laws changed, and minor infractions of the law didn't result in the death penalty. So this led to a booming trade in body snatching, or what they were called back in those days were resurrectionists or resurrection men. And one of the most famous cases was Burke and Hare, who in Scotland actually thought, well, if we can't find bodies, we'll just make our own. And they went around murdering people and selling the corpses. So in some movies, you might see Frankenstein actually getting the bodies himself. In others movies, you may see people delivering Frankenstein the parts. Now, the reason for this was they had to be very careful. Not only were the bodies in short supply, but if a grave robber caught someone else on their patch, so to speak, they could get severely beaten up or even killed. So it was a lot easier for the people who were selling parts to Dr. Frankenstein to simply bring him apart here and there. And of course, Victor Frankenstein only insisted that the fresher, the better. And that's the reason why Victor Frankenstein never created just one whole person. Okay, Dark Realmers, that's about all I've got for you for our very first trivia episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've maybe learned something too. And if you have enjoyed the episode, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I love hearing from you and your comments, okay? And we'll be doing another trivia episode very, very soon. So until then, pleasant dreams.